The early morning air on Ridgeview Road was usually still, broken only by the chirping of birds and the rhythmic footsteps of the town's most dedicated joggers. But on October 14th at 5:45 a.m., that fragile peace was shattered. A lone driver, heading to an early shift, saw something lying on the shoulder of the road, a dark shape against the gray asphalt. As they slowed, the horrifying reality came into focus. It was a body. The discovery would set in motion an investigation that peeled back the layers of a seemingly straightforward tragedy to reveal a cold, calculated act of violence. This quiet suburban street, bathed in the first light of dawn, had become the final resting place for 28-year-old Ethan Hayes and the starting point of a hunt for a killer hiding in plain sight. When first responders arrived, the scene appeared tragically familiar. Ethan, dressed in his running gear, was found with injuries consistent with being struck by a vehicle. The initial assessment from the patrol officers on the scene pointed towards a hit and run. It was a devastating yet sadly common scenario. A driver, perhaps distracted or impaired, strikes a pedestrian and panics, fleeing into the darkness. The local news would report it as such, a grim reminder of the dangers lurking on even the quietest roads. Detectives from the Major Crimes Unit were called in, expecting to begin the painstaking but routine process of identifying a phantom vehicle from scattered debris and witness appeals. The prevailing theory was that they were looking for a reckless driver, not a cold-blooded murderer. However, as the forensics team began their meticulous work, the first threads of this simple narrative began to unravel. The investigation's first major pivot came from a single unassuming traffic camera positioned half a mile from the scene. While it didn't capture the impact itself, its footage from the minutes leading up to the estimated time of death was crucial. Detectives painstakingly reviewed hours of grainy pre-dawn video. Amidst the sparse traffic, one vehicle stood out, a dark-colored sedan. Unlike other cars that passed through the intersection at a consistent speed, this one slowed down dramatically as it approached the stretch of road where Ethan's body would later be found. It almost came to a stop, then accelerated away. It was a subtle, almost insignificant detail, but to a trained investigator, it was a glaring anomaly. Why would a driver slow down so much on an empty road, right before the location of a supposed accident? The car's behavior didn't fit the profile of a driver who accidentally hits someone and flees in a panic. It felt more deliberate, more predatory. This was no longer just about a car. It was about the person behind the wheel and their intent. Back at the scene, the physical evidence began to tell a story that contradicted the hit-and-run hypothesis. The forensics team, sweeping the asphalt with magnetic tools and combing the grassy shoulder, found more than just the expected fragments of a headlight or a side mirror. They discovered small, unusual paint chips, a deep metallic blue that didn't match any recent hit-and-run reports in the state database. More disturbingly, they identified faint but definite drag marks on the road surface and scuffs on the victim's running shoes and clothing. These marks suggested that Ethan's body hadn't just been struck, it had been moved. The pattern of the abrasions indicated he was dragged for a short distance after the initial impact. A high-speed collision would have thrown the body, not pulled it. The evidence was painting a picture of a low-speed controlled event. The car had slowed for a reason, and the encounter had been far more personal than a random tragic accident. The case took another sharp turn when detectives canvassing the neighborhood found a witness. An elderly woman, whose house backed onto Ridgeview Road, had been awake with insomnia around 5:30 a.m. She told investigators she had heard something unusual, something that had been bothering her all morning. It wasn't the screech of tires or the crunch of metal she remembered. Instead, she recalled the distinct sound of a heated argument. Two voices, both male, raised in anger. The shouting lasted for perhaps a minute, she said, before being abruptly cut off by a dull, heavy thud. Moments later, she heard a car engine rev and speed away. She had dismissed it at the time, thinking it was just late-night revelers. But in the context of a dead body on that same road, her testimony was explosive. There was a confrontation. The accident wasn't an accident at all. It was the horrifying conclusion to a fight. Ethan Hayes knew his killer. With the make, model, and distinctive metallic blue color identified from the paint chips and CCTV footage, the investigation now had a clear target, a late-model sedan. Detectives ran a search through the DMV database, cross-referencing registered owners with any known associates of the victim. The search led them to a local auto body shop on the industrial side of town. Posing as customers, 2 detectives surveyed the lot. Tucked away in a back corner, partially covered by a tarp, was a sedan matching their description. It had fresh, noticeable damage to the front bumper and a cracked windshield, and its color was a perfect match for the paint chips found at the scene. The shop owner confirmed the car had been dropped off just yesterday by its owner, a man named Mark Renshaw, for minor collision repair. He claimed he had hit a deer. When detectives ran the name, they got their final, chilling confirmation. Mark Renshaw was Ethan Hayes' business partner. Investigators brought Mark Renshaw in for questioning. He presented himself as a grieving friend, shocked and devastated by the news. He was calm, cooperative, and had an answer for everything. When asked about his whereabouts on the morning of Ethan's death, he claimed he was at home, asleep. He admitted his car was damaged, but stuck to his story about hitting a deer on a country road 2 nights prior. He even provided a location. But his timeline was a lie, and he didn't know the detectives were holding an ace. They had already checked his cell phone records, which placed his phone at the exact location on Ridgeview Road at the exact time of the incident. Furthermore, the traffic camera footage showed his car, not on some remote country lane, but slowing to a crawl just yards from where Ethan's body was found. The web of deceit he had so carefully constructed was collapsing under the weight of digital and physical proof. The final damning piece of evidence came from the forensic analysis of Mark's car. Trapped within the cracked plastic of the damaged bumper were microscopic fibers that matched Ethan's running shorts. The so-called deer he had hit was wearing athletic apparel. The evidence was now overwhelming. Investigators confronted him one last time, laying out the undeniable timeline: the cell phone pings, the CCTV footage, the witness hearing an argument, the fibers on his car. His calm demeanor finally cracked. The motive, buried in financial records, was greed. Ethan had discovered Mark was embezzling money from their shared business and had confronted him, threatening to go to the police. The argument the witness heard was their final confrontation. Mark had intentionally run Ethan down with his car, then dragged his body to the shoulder to stage it as a hit and run. It was not a moment of panic. It was a calculated decision to commit murder to cover up a crime. Mark Renshaw was arrested and charged with first-degree murder. The initial reports of a tragic accident were replaced with the dark truth of betrayal and premeditated violence. His conviction brought a painful closure to Ethan's family, but the case left a permanent scar on the community, a reminder of the darkness that can hide behind a familiar face. This investigation underscores a critical message for public safety. Always be aware of your surroundings, but also understand that true danger can sometimes come not from a stranger in the shadows, but from someone you know and trust. It also serves as a testament to modern policing, where a single paint chip, a grainy video, or a faint digital signal can be the key to unraveling a complex lie and ensuring that justice, no matter how well hidden the crime, ultimately prevails.